All right, welcome everyone to Haven of Horror. As always, I am Subject. I have Torgo and Robert with us. This is going to be an interesting one. I'm kind of glad there's three people here because this isn't the deepest movie, but I think we'll all have different perspectives that we can bring onto it. Tonight is the penultimate review in our Shutter Shuffle second round. And I have not unmuted myself. I'm bringing you guys in now. Don't worry, it was only you that couldn't hear me. How's everybody doing?
Good. Pretty good.
All right. I already said it, but I'll just reiterate so that you guys know where we're at. We're reviewing Chopping Mall tonight. I'm glad that we have three people here just because that way we can cover multiple aspects of this movie. It's not the deepest movie, but it is a movie that we have watched.
Are you kidding me? This is the most intelligent movie we've ever reviewed.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Torgo, give us a plot summary of Chopping Mall.
Okay, well, Chopping Mall is about these young adults who stay in a mall for one night, and there are these security robots that are designed to keep the mall safe to deal with intruders. And what do you know? They go bad and start killing everybody. That's really it.
This might be the most 80s movie to ever 80s.
It's very 80s, yes.
I don't know about you guys, but because I'm such a horror fan, and specifically of 80s horror, I have this kind of memory of what an 80s horror film is. And this is kind of everything just boiled down to its essence. It's sleazy. The acting is well, they're trying, I guess. But kind of everything I love about movies from this era and these lower budget movies. One thing I will give this before we jump into the full review, it doesn't look low budget. They're really smart with how they film everything, and whatever transfer. I watched this on Peacock just because it was the first streaming service I saw that had it since we made that wheel all those months ago. Whatever transfer that the streaming services have now looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I think what surprised me most about it is, at least for the first 10 minutes, but to an extent the rest of the movie, it looks like a real movie. There's actual camera work and choices made with how it's shot. It's not high art, but I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with seeing this movie featured on Red Letter Media on Best of the Worst. And this movie is way too good to be on that show. If you're used to the type of terrible movies they cover, it's oh, this is competent. Whether you're laughing with the movie or laughing at it, it's oh, this is surprisingly decent-ish.
Yeah, there's like you said, there's actual. This feels like it was made by a director that has somewhat of a vision, or at least kind of knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't feel as cheap as it is.
Well, and I have not. Oh, go on.
Well, and I looked it up. It's directed by Jim Wynorski. Apparently, he's directed over 150 movies. I'm looking at this dude's filmography. It's insane.
Guy knows what he's doing, I guess.
Well,
now
are you familiar with more recent stuff?
I don't know anything about this guy, actually.
He made Piranha Condor. No, Piranhaconda.
I'm kind of scared to hear what Robert has to say.
He made classic parody films such as Cleavage Field and The Bear Winch Project.
Oh, okay.
He's that guy.
What you're not including with those spoofs is those are adult films.
Yes. If that wasn't clear by the titles.
From the title.
And what's crazy, to make sure that we state it.
Well, what's crazy, if you told me the director of Friday the 13th Part 5 directed those movies, I'd say, oh, that makes sense, because that guy's known for making sleazy pornos. And I mean, this movie's sleazy, it's exploitive. I've seen much sleazier, more exploitive movies from the 80s, like Friday the 13th Part 5 and lots of other slashers. So while that stuff is in this movie, it's very noticeable, I've still seen much sleazier from this era. So like I said, this feels like a kind of real movie from a filmmaker who knows what he's doing. And like you said, he directed over 100 movies, so he did something right.
Well, and what's crazy is this is his second film. But most
Yeah,
notably,
wow.
he also directed The Return of Swamp Thing.
Yes, that's correct. Which I have not seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
And he looks like he did some stuff, some writing for like Beastmaster 2, House 4. He's I would say kind of the like B movie workman director. Like you just hire this guy when you need to get a flick out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean he's not bad at his job, like we were saying. I think this movie has some pretty cool shots, and like actual choices being made with the camera.
Yeah.
That's about where a lot of my praise ends.
Oh
no!
Oh no! This is gonna be one of those videos. All right, so let's start with the positives. It sounds like that'll be mostly me and Robert. But before we get into that, Robert, because I know me and Torgo have seen this before. Have you seen this before?
Oh, barely. Like not in its entirety. The most familiarity I had with this movie was that Red Letter Media video. So like I'd seen clips, but this is my first time watching the whole movie, and I had a pretty good time.
Yeah. So what did you like about this movie?
Oh, I love the robots. They're great.
The
story about this movie. I don't know if you guys have seen the poster for this. It's actually a really good, just classic 80s horror movie poster. But if you look at that poster, you would have no idea this movie's about killer robots. Or killer robots that look like this. You would think this is just a normal 80s slasher movie. And that's kind of what I found interesting about this. Like, this feels like a script that at one point was just like an 80s teen slasher movie, but what if it's set in a mall? And it's just it's a killer chasing some teenagers around the mall. And then it's like someone said, okay, but what if they were robots though? And there were more than one. So it's like that. It's just a slasher movie, but with killer robots, because the Terminator was really popular, and this is a couple years later. So it's just more fun and interesting than some other movies like this. Like I said, I mean, you could do a slasher movie with teens running around a mall. Like that could be fun. I'd watch that movie. But this was a little bit more interesting. And I'm kind of torn because my biggest praise of this movie, besides just some of the goofy stuff that we'll get to later, is it's just so short. It's 75 minutes. And apparently that's because there were some not great test screenings and they cut like 20 minutes out of this thing. I don't know if you're going to talk about that. And I'm kind of torn because it's a movie where it's like, well, you could have an extra 10 minutes, like fleshing out these characters, getting more setup, going into more detail about these robots, but nah. It's just a fun, quick 75-minute movie. And I kind of respect it for that. Like, I'm a big Friday the 13th fan. None of those movies need to be over 80 minutes. Like, they all could be under 80. And I think many would benefit from that. So that's a big thing this movie has going for it, is it's really short. It gets in and out quick. And I respect it for that.
So I did not know that. I did not have time to do any research on this movie, so I'm glad that you did a little bit. With that in mind, just based on the cut that I have seen, I think this is kind of the perfect cut of this movie. You're right. You don't need a longer cut. I like these characters for what they are, some more than others. And I don't need a big, long, like, let's, flesh out these characters and, like, try to make you sympathize with us. No, just take me for a ride. Like, let me have some fun for, an hour and a half.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I think the robots look really cool. The kills are pretty cool. They kind of play with, the advanced robots. Although, obviously, we're watching this, 30, 40 years later. So now it's like, yeah, your budget's showing.
Well, there's only one, if I'm going to go into criticism, there's only one great kill in this movie. And we all know what kill I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, the head.
Yes, that is a top 10 head explosion.
Yeah. No, that's
I think
one
there's
of the
two.
best
I like the one blonde lady that gets killed when they shoot the gas can on her.
Oh, Barbara Crampton.
Yeah,
I knew that one's fun in theory, but it's like that's clearly a dude in a wig, but it's fine. That's a good one. I'll give you
that. Yeah, this could have used better kills. I think that's the only thing kind of holding it back from being an all-time great. Of its genre,
for sure.
And because you can't really look at this versus like, I don't know, the first Nightmare on Elm Street or like an Evil Dead.
No.
Like, you have to compare this to the B movies that were coming out at the time.
Right.
And I would argue that this is one of the better B movies of the time period that I've seen.
I think I'd agree with that, because I didn't hate this movie, just to be clear.
Seems like
just no. That's the thing about these when we review these kinds of movies, is that this just isn't really my kind of movie. I mean, I can watch it. I had fun with it, and I think I respected, like the directing and kind of like the personalities of the different characters, even though they're very paper thin characters, and the kills. So and I do think that there's not so much as something like Friday Part 6 or Scream, but there is a little bit of a self-awareness to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just get that sense. It's not something I can point to any like specific examples of. But I think the director was kind of aware, like, that he wanted to make this stand out from the other like generic slasher movies at the time, and I think it does.
Yeah, you can see actual effort.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
I want to rewind for a second because I found what Robert was talking about. Not only was this the edited down, the name was changed. So when they distributed this to audiences, it was called Killbots, which gives you a much more closer idea of what this movie's about. That's also a terrible name.
Chopping Mall is better.
Chopping Mall is way better. So they edited it down and called it Chopping Mall. I do wonder if there is some of the deleted scenes made it to like a Blu-ray release from like Scream Factory or Arrow. But yeah. That's cool. You see a lot of that in the genre of like, well, we had to cut it down and make it more fast. I don't want to say fast paced, but like even and keep the pace going.
Well, like I said, some of those Friday the 13th movies, especially the first one, like you could cut 10 minutes out. Like even as is, they're longer than they need.
And I like
that first movie drags. It could have been 70 minutes like this.
Yeah. So what did you guys think about the characters? I liked some of them. I think the only one I couldn't outright stand it, I don't know if it's his fault, but so when I watch a movie like this, I'm not worried about watching it on my 55-inch OLED. It's an 80s slasher. I just watch it on my computer with my headphones in. And there's that one guy, he's the first kill, that is chewing gum the entire time. And the way that it is mixed in my headphones is I could hear that fucking gum the entire time. I was like, oh my God, please go away.
Yeah, I didn't watch it with headphones, so I didn't really pick up on his chewing that much. But I thought that guy was kind of funny, and like he's playing like the typical kind of douchebag. So it was fun to see him like get killed.
See, I didn't even think of him as like a douchebag, but I think that's just because the girl he's dating is also a douche. Like he gets killed because she had to have a very specific kind of cigarette.
I think they're like the stereotypical like clueless young adult characters, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has like a big chin and a tiny face.
Yeah.
I know.
But we should mention, you mentioned it a little bit, but Barbara Crampton's in this movie. She's awesome. She's been in a bunch of the genre. I recently watched Suitable Flesh finally with her in it, and that movie's great.
Ooh, I still need to see that.
Yes, you do. It's on Shudder.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Barbara Crampton's just one of those like kind of now iconic B-movie actresses who's still doing stuff. She's in Reanimator, From Beyond, lots of movies like that. She is great.
Yeah.
This probably, being objective, this is probably the weakest performance I've seen from her, but she's still hamming it up and stands out. She gets to play the character who just completely loses it. You usually have that in these horror movies. There's like that one girl character who just completely loses their composure, starts freaking out and ruining things for everybody. She gets to be that character, and it does not end well for her.
No, it doesn't.
Not
she gets turned into human barbecue. I liked the final girl ends up being the like more awkward waitress that you see at the beginning. And I like that kind of awkward setup that they have with her and that nerdy guy. It doesn't get to do anything, which is fine in this kind of movie, but it makes you root for him a little bit. Gives you just enough to like, yeah, I want them to survive. What about
Nah,
you? Were you rooting for him?
He could have died. When he came back at the end, I was like, oh.
I was gonna say, what do you think about how he comes back? Because I
It's
think
lame.
I agree. I think he could have stayed
You
dead.
think he could have stayed dead?
Yeah. Well, it's that that's how you know this is like the past 85, 86 threshold is, oh, we have a couple that lives at the end. It's not just a final girl. There's a final guy too. Like all the later Friday movies do that. Where instead of having just the girl survivor, she also gets a boyfriend who gets to live. Which, I mean, one of the two or the older ones do, but that becomes much more common in the mid to late 80s for some reason. So that feels like a studio note or something like, give her a boyfriend, let him live.
No, you know what? Now that I think about it, you're right.
Yeah, like
even in like even in Friday 3 and 4, the boyfriend ends up dying.
Yeah.
But I think I would have been more fine with it if it wasn't like a fake out death.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, it's the fact that you think he's dead and then he comes back. It's like, oh, okay.
So
Well, and that's also what I do like about the final girl in this, where it's like, oh, she's actually good. I like her performance. She's likable. And it's a little subversive in that the quote-unquote nerdy girl doesn't usually make it. Back to Friday 13th, like, part 7 probably has, like, the most notable, like, nerdy girl chick who, like, goes through transformation phase and then is killed by Jason. This one actually gets to be the final girl, and she's pretty likable. You have a more prototypical final girl, you're kind of a fake out final girl who I think the brunette one, who I think is likable enough, and then she dies and then she just stands there and gets shot and killed. Like, that's a really lame death. Like, oh, I guess she's dead now.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a lame death in execution, or I don't think it's a lame death in concept, but that's a minute where the budget is peaking out. Like, give us some, like, gore or like something crazy there. So she just kind of falls over dead. Same with her boyfriend, who kind of becomes the quasi leader for a minute when they're all trapped in the mall.
Well, and that's when I'm not sure when you're supposed to be laughing with the movie or if I'm just laughing at the movie, is just the fact that the robots are terrible shots. They miss so many times, and then they hit their victims when the movie needs them to. Like, a couple get wounded, and of course you get the iconic head explosion, but they're usually missing. And then the one girl is just standing there screaming for like 10 seconds, like, just move to the left, you'll be fine. And it's like, sure enough, on like the 100th shot, it hits her.
I think you're laughing with it at that, because there's definitely, I think, an attempt at satire here.
For sure.
You got kids stuck in a mall, and consumerism's attempt to guard their property is leading to these people being killed. I don't know if it's effective, but I like there's an attempt.
Well, of course, I can't watch this movie. I can't watch this movie and not think of Dawn of the Dead, the iconic mall set horror movie.
Well, I mean, that's the solution. You put your horror movie in a mall, and it's instantly like 10 times better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, but that's when I don't know how intentional the satire is, or if it's, well, we're just doing what Dawn of the Dead did, so that some of that satire is just gonna seeping into this. I
think I have to give them the benefit of the doubt, because it's very noticeably security guards that are killing them, or replacements.
That's true. That's a good point.
If it was just, we're in the mall and a masked guy comes through and starts killing us, that's not quite as much satire. It's just a dude in a mask, in the mall, which I'd be down for. There's a movie, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a slasher in a grocery store. It's great.
Oh, okay.
Sam Raimi's in it for a minute.
Ooh, nice.
I'll have to find it. But no, I think I have to give them that at least some of it is intentional, because the robots are designed to replace human security guards.
And it goes terribly wrong.
Terribly wrong. It reminded me of Child's Play in that way, where you have this like thing designed to replace something else for human benefit, but then it goes wrong. In this case, it's, well, okay. So in ways, I'm thinking of the original Child's Play, but then when you get to the robots, I'm thinking of the remake where it's, you know, like a smart doll. Robert, I thought you froze up there for a second. You like weren't moving.
No, I was thinking I was going. Okay, so this trope is in a lot of movies of just like a robot that's meant to replace humans and then goes evil. It's just like trying to think of an example of a better example. Megan obviously is a new one, but that's a trope
Yeah,
we've
but
seen
you said
in a lot of
better.
things.
This
movie
this movie is
sucks.
this movie is better than Megan. I will say.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think the most accurate comparison would be either the original or remake. Probably the remake of Child's Play, because that is a, you know, machine gone wrong versus a plastic thing of plastic that's possessed by a soul.
Right.
Well, Torgo, we kind of gushed about this movie a little bit. What were your issues with the movie?
Tell us why you hate it.
Yeah,
Well, I
tell
don't
us what's
hate
wrong
it.
with you.
Like I said before, I had fun with it, and I understand like why this movie would be entertaining. For part of it, I don't know. I just found myself looking at my phone a lot during this movie, not really paying attention. Just I don't know really what it was. Just I
What
wasn't
the
that
hell is
interested with
wrong
the
with you?
characters. I don't know. It's hard for me to like put into words for that, but I mean, I still like the movie overall. It's just it's one of those movies where I don't really have much to say about it because like I think it perfectly like executes what it's trying to do. And like I was talking about earlier, it stands out from other slasher movies at the time in a really interesting and creative way. Yeah, I mean, I could complain about how little developed the characters are, but like there would be no point in doing that because that's what kind of movie this is.
Yeah.
And it's notable. Sorry, real quick. It is also notable. This is a Corman production, but not Roger
Okay.
Corman. Julie Corman,
Oh,
his
interesting.
wife.
Okay.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting. Another, like, aside from the satire angle with this movie, it kind of turns into an action movie, like partway through, where they start fighting against the robots. I think that's kind of interesting.
Well, that's because of Terminator, right? Like, there's no way Terminator wasn't an influence on this movie.
Yeah, this is very much Terminator by way of
the ending's. The ending's very Sarah Connor versus the T-800. I really got those vibes.
I can't disagree, but I think that would have been the ending whether or not Terminator happened, because that's also the formula. We cut down the cast down to maybe 2 or 3 people, and then the survivors have to fight back until it's just whoever the final girl or final boy, or in this case, final pair is. But no, definitely some Terminator. I was reading that some like film scholars have also compared this to Dawn of the Dead, so obviously, not a terrible comparison.
It's pretty clear with the mall setting.
This is just peak, like, you get some friends over that like these kind of movies. Let's watch, Chopping Mall and waste 75 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's the key for like. I think I would have loved this movie more if I was watching it in a group.
Torgo's heard me say this a million times before, but we need more movies like this. Even our schlocky movies now are trying to be about something. Like, yes, there's messaging there, but it's all incidental. Like, they're just, making a fun movie. And this movie's budget was only $800,000 for 1986. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
Well, I unfortunately don't have a lot else to say. I'll let you kind of catch up.
It's not as especially deep movie.
This isn't an especially deep movie, but it's one that's, I think, important to talk about.
Yeah. It has its place.
I think what we might do next time we do a Shutter Shuffle like this, if it's a movie like this, like where it's just a cheap slasher, we might do just a commentary instead to make a better video.
Maybe, yeah.
If it's something like this, if it's like Exorcist 3, then we do a proper review. But just like Chopping Mall, it's like 75-minute commentary, why not? But anyway, Robert, you were gonna say something.
Well, if I needed to throw out another criticism, it's that Dick Miller, the wonderful Dick Miller, who we all love. You've seen him
Only
in a
one
million
scene.
things. He's in Gremlins and Gremlins 2. Like the Terminator, he shows up for one scene and is killed by a murder bot, and it made me very sad. I wanted him as a co-lead. I wish he was in the movie more because he's great.
I needed more Dick Miller.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. I always think of him as the truck driver from Small Soldiers. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
yeah, I mean that's when you know like you're probably in for a pretty decent B movie if Barbara Crampton or Dick Miller are in it. Like that's a good sign.
And this one you get both.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, trying to think. I like how creative the survivors get with having to deal with these robots. Like they can't just fight them one-on-one or head-on, so they have to kind of deploy special tactics. I don't know if a bunch of teenagers in the 80s would know how to do that, but it's whatever. Do you guys have anything else you want to mention, or do you want to move on to final thoughts?
We can go to final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean if we want to rate it, like that's
Okay.
otherwise I think we're good.
Robert, final thoughts and rating.
It's a fun movie. I mean, I give it a 3 out of 5. Like, not a super high rating, but it's positive. I'd give it a 3. Lots of B movies, slasher movies. Like, I'd give it a 3. Like, it's pretty good. It knows what it is. It does what it does well, and it's very short and easy to watch. It's currently on Peacock. To anyone who has that, that's how I watched it. That's how Subject watched it. Like, it's a fun time.
But you won't get Shudder. Come on now.
It's also on Shudder. The name of this mini-series.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if it was still on Shudder or not. But yeah, it's a fun movie. It's worth checking out if you like this type of movie.
Yeah.
Torgo, final thoughts and score.
Score, same as Robert, 3 out of 5. I think I probably made a mistake by leaning more negative at the beginning of this.
Yeah,
because I didn't hate.
Why are you like this?
No, like I said before, I didn't hate the movie. I think I just got to watch it with people to have fun with it. I respect what it's trying to do, and I respect how much it like stands out from other slashers at the time. So it's a pretty unique movie in a lot of different regards, but yeah, I mean, for what it is, it's pretty good.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm still reading as you guys were talking. One thing I want to mention before I get into my score, one of the shoplifters at the beginning is Rodney Eastman, who would later go on to be in Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4 as Joey.
I did read that. I thought he was just a shopper.
It's a shoplifter uncredited.
Okay. Yeah, it's during the opening credits in that montage, like with the wacky
I'm guessing
shenanigans.
He's one of the shoplifters, yeah. And we didn't even mention that whole tape at the beginning plays very satire, RoboCop-esque.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there is a pretty lighthearted satirical tone to this movie.
Yeah. I'm gonna be the highest one here. I'm gonna give it a 3.5. This is kind of everything I love about the decade, just B movies kind of distilled into one. Too many cool actors that are great in anything. Like even if it's a shit movie, if you see one of them in it, you're gonna at least have one character that you can get behind. Yeah, get a group of people together, just watch this and have fun. Not every movie needs to be deep as a I can't think of the metaphor. Oh, damn it.
An ocean?
It needs to be deep and smart and, just sometimes a movie can be fun.
So this is a great example of a theme park movie. I know there was a lot of controversy with Martin Scorsese using that term, but
No, we don't. No.
Well, listen, there are bad theme parks, there are badly constructed theme parks, and there are good constructed theme parks, and this is one of the good ones.
Yeah, and there's bad fast food and good fast food.
Exactly. That's another good comparison. Yeah. This is like Wendy's. Wendy's is pretty good fast food.
Yeah. All right.
It's almost a real restaurant.
Oh, yeah, almost.
So that is Shopping Mall. This would be a fun one to do a commentary on at some point, just hang out and watch. But I'm not. That's not me announcing anything. That is not me announcing anything.
Stop announcing.
Timestamp 0 right now.
But we appreciate you guys stopping by to check out the channel. If you're still watching, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Robert and I.
We gotta say the next movie.
I'm getting
that's
there.
right.
Okay, I thought you were about to wrap up the video.
Robert and I will be back next Thursday with The Last of Us. Next Friday, we will be on Gotham City Bulletin doing Killing Joke. And then after that, 2 weeks from today, we will be doing, where did I pull it? From Beyond, our last movie. Torgo, are you excited? We're almost done.
I'm excited because I really liked Reanimator from what I remember. So this is like the same director or whatever.
It's another Barbara Crampton movie.
Same cast. Well, at least the same two leads.
Okay, yeah. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Keith David's in that, right?
No,
or I think it's someone else.
Ken Foree.
Ken Foree, that's right. He's great.
Of course, he's in the second best horror movie ever made.
Another movie we mentioned tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, and then you will also be getting notifications on the weeks that we are not live with smaller edited versions of our Last of Us streams. And that'll be, at least right now, I've got it queued up till August. But anyway, that is our schedule for the future. And I think after From Beyond, we're going to do Aliens. And then we are going to jump into our Flanagan program where we talk about a bunch of Flanagan, because Flanagan's awesome and we've only covered one of his movies.
Did we announce that on the channel yet?
I just did.
Okay. We're going to be reviewing a bunch of Mike Flanagan directed stuff.
Yeah, which will start with an Oculus commentary. And then, Torgo, do you want to just jump straight into House on Haunted Hill? Or do you want to do a movie in between so you can have time to watch all of it?
It might be good to have a movie in between, and I'll just be like watching the series as we do it.
Just keep in mind, you'll have 2 weeks between videos that we do as well.
Oh, that's true. I mean, either way works for me.
Okay. Well, I'll go by your guys' schedule because I've seen it already.
We'll play it by ear.
And then I did promise Robert we would do Midnight Mass soon. But I do want to do Oculus and Hill House first, just because they're kind of a pair thematically.
So have you guys reviewed Oculus already?
No.
Oh, but you still want to do a commentary?
What?
Well, you said commentary.
Commentary? Oh, no,
yeah.
Sorry. I meant an Oculus review and then a...
Okay.
And then the only commentary we're going to do out of the ones that we've talked about so far is Dr. Sleep, because we've already reviewed that.
Okay.
I just don't know what words are. Anyway, that is going to be it for us tonight. We're going to stop talking shop on the channel. And